I'm standing in the rain at my son Daniel's funeral, and my daughter-in-law Sophia leans in close. Her Chanel perfume cuts through the smell of wet earth and fresh flowers. She squeezes my arm, almost tender, and whispers right into my ear. "The cabin is mine now, Richard. You have 30 days to pack your things." I don't pull away. I don't raise my voice. I just look at her, at those perfectly made-up eyes that my son once called beautiful, and I smile. A real smile. Then I shake her hand, thank her for everything, and walk away through the rain. 3 weeks later, 2 FBI agents knocked on her door with an arrest warrant for murder. This is how I made it happen. Let me go back to the beginning, because you need to understand what my son Daniel meant to me. My wife Emma died in November of 2020. COVID. She fought for 3 weeks on a ventilator before her lungs just gave up. I held her hand through the ICU window that last day, my palm pressed against the cold glass, and I watched the monitors go flat. Daniel was there beside me, my only child. 35 years old, a software engineer with a corner office in downtown Portland, and a kindness that came straight from his mother. When they finally let us in to say goodbye, Daniel held Emma's other hand, and he told her he loved her, told her not to worry about me, told her he'd take care of everything. And he meant it. For the next 6 months, Daniel called me every single day. He brought groceries. He fixed the leaking faucet in the upstairs bathroom. He sat with me on the porch of our lakeside cabin, and we didn't talk, just watched the water and remembered Emma together. The cabin. I should tell you about that too. I built it myself back in 1998, every board and every nail, on 3 acres overlooking Sebago Lake. Emma picked out the spot. She wanted to see the sunrise over the water every morning, so I oriented the whole house east, put in these massive windows in the living room that catch the light just right. We raised Daniel there, taught him to fish off our dock, watched him graduate high school on the back lawn. After Emma died, that cabin was all I had left of her. Every corner held a memory. The kitchen where she taught Daniel to make her grandmother's apple pie. The reading nook where she'd curl up with mystery novels on rainy afternoons. The bedroom where we'd spent 33 years of marriage. The cabin was also worth $1.2 million. The Portland real estate market had exploded. Developers had been calling me for years, offering cash for the land. I always said no. That place wasn't for sale. It was my home. It was Emma's legacy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In June of 2021, Daniel met Sophia at his gym. She was a personal trainer, 28 years old, with an Instagram account full of green smoothies and motivational quotes. Within 2 weeks, Daniel was bringing her to Sunday dinners at the cabin. Within a month, he was talking about how she'd changed his life, helped him find balance, taught him to take care of his body. I didn't like her. I know that makes me sound like the cliché overprotective father, but something about Sophia felt wrong from the start. The way she'd touch Daniel's shoulder when she wanted something, the way she'd smile at me and then let it drop the second Daniel looked away, the way she never, not once, asked about Emma. When Daniel told me they were getting married after 6 months of dating, I tried to talk to him, gently. I said maybe they should wait, get to know each other better. Daniel got defensive. He said I'd never liked any girl he dated, that I needed to let him make his own choices, that Sophia made him happy. So I backed off, because Daniel was right about one thing. I'd already lost Emma. I couldn't lose my son, too. They got married in December of 2021. Small ceremony, just immediate family and a few friends. Sophia wore white and smiled for all the photos. I gave a toast about how Emma would have loved to see this day. Sophia didn't cry. She checked her phone twice during the reception. The first real warning sign came 3 months later. Daniel called me on a Tuesday night, voice tight with stress. He said Sophia was worried about the cabin, about what would happen to it if something happened to me, about estate taxes and probate and legal complications. She thinks we should put the cabin in my name now, Dad, Daniel said. That way, if anything happens, it's protected. It stays in the family. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. But this was my son, my Daniel, who'd held his mother's hand while she died, who called me every day for 6 months, who'd never asked me for anything. Let me think about it, I told him. I thought about it for 2 weeks. I called my lawyer. a guy named Tom Hartwell who'd handled Emma's will. Tom was blunt. Richard, once you sign over that deed, it's his. If he decides to sell it, if he gets divorced, if he dies and it goes to his wife, you have zero control. You sure you trust this? I wasn't sure. But Daniel called me every other day, and each time he sounded more anxious. Sophia was pushing him. She'd researched estate law. She had articles about families losing their homes to tax liens. She painted this picture of me dying and Daniel losing everything while lawyers fought over paperwork. Finally, in April of 2022, I signed the deed over to Daniel. We sat in Tom's office, and I watched my son's name replace mine on the title to the home Emma and I had built. Daniel hugged me. He promised the cabin would always be my home, that he'd never sell it, that this was just about protecting our family. Sophia wasn't at the signing. She was teaching a yoga class, Daniel said. The change started slowly, little things at first. Sophia suggested I move into the cabin's basement apartment instead of the main floor, said it would give them privacy when they visited on weekends. Daniel agreed it made sense. I moved my things downstairs. Then Sophia started redecorating. She replaced Emma's floral curtains with modern white ones. She took down the family photos from the hallway and put up abstract art prints. When I asked about Emma's reading chair, the one by the window, Sophia said she donated it because it didn't fit the new aesthetic. I didn't say anything. The cabin wasn't mine anymore. I was a guest in my own home. By the summer of 2023, Daniel and Sophia were spending every weekend at the cabin, and Sophia was making rules. I couldn't use the main kitchen during their visits. I needed to ask before having friends over. I should really think about finding a retirement community, Sophia said, somewhere with activities and people my own age. Daniel went along with all of it. He'd become quieter, agreeing with whatever Sophia said. When I tried to talk to him alone, he'd just say Sophia was right, that she was looking out for all of us, that I was being stubborn. In March of 2024, everything changed. Daniel got sick. It started with fatigue. He'd visit the cabin and spend half the day napping on the couch. Then came the nausea, the weight loss, the way his hands would shake when he tried to hold a coffee cup. Sophia was very concerned. She made him special protein shakes every morning, packed with vitamins and supplements from her wellness influencer contacts. She scheduled doctor appointments. She researched symptoms on medical websites late into the night. The doctors ran tests, blood work, imaging, biopsies. Everything came back normal. They said it was probably stress. Daniel had been promoted at work, they noted. He was managing a big team. These things happen. They prescribed anti-anxiety medication and vitamin supplements. But Daniel kept getting worse. I'd watch him at Sunday dinners, picking at his food, his face gray with exhaustion. Sophia would sit beside him, rubbing his back, encouraging him to drink more of her special shake. "You need your protein, baby," she'd say. "It'll help your body fight whatever this is." And Daniel would drink. Every drop, something about it bothered me. I couldn't articulate why. Maybe it was the way Sophia watched him drink, this little satisfied expression that disappeared as soon as anyone looked at her. Maybe it was how she'd gotten so much better at making those shakes, the way she'd measure everything precisely in the kitchen, humming to herself. Or maybe it was the phone call I overheard in late April. I was in the basement apartment, and Sophia was upstairs in the kitchen, talking on her phone. The old cabin has thin floors, and sound carries. I heard her laugh, light and relaxed. "Just a few more weeks," she said. "He's too weak to change anything now." "Yes, I'm sure. The cabin's in his name, I'm the sole beneficiary on everything, and his dad's just waiting to die anyway." I stood there in my little basement kitchen, frozen, listening to my daughter-in-law plan my son's death. When she hung up, I crept upstairs. Sophia was at the counter, her back to me, washing out a blender. There was a faint chemical smell, sharp and wrong under the scent of vanilla protein powder. "Oh, Richard," she said, turning with that bright smile. "I didn't know you were home. I'm just making Daniel's afternoon shake. Want me to make you one?" "No, thank you," I said. I went back downstairs, locked my door, and tried to figure out what to do. If I called Daniel and told him I thought his wife was poisoning him, he wouldn't believe me. He'd already chosen her over my concerns a dozen times before. If I went to the police with nothing but a overheard phone call and a bad feeling, they'd dismiss me as a paranoid old man. I needed proof. The next day, I drove to Portland and found a private investigator. His name was James Chen, operated out of a small office above a Thai restaurant. He listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "You need evidence," Chen said. "Security cameras in the house, samples of whatever she's giving him, medical records showing the poisoning." "She'll notice cameras," I said. "Not if they're small enough." Chen pulled out his phone and showed me tiny wireless cameras, the size of a shirt button. "We put these in the kitchen, the bedroom. They upload to cloud storage. Even if she finds them and destroys them, we'll have the footage." I paid him $5,000. He installed 6 cameras in the cabin the next weekend, while Sophia and Daniel were in Portland. 1 above the kitchen counter, 1 in the living room, 1 in the basement stairwell, 3 others in places I won't specify, just in case. Then I waited. For 2 weeks, I watched the footage every night on my laptop. Sophia cooking, Sophia cleaning, Sophia checking her phone. Normal, boring domesticity. Then, on May 7th, I saw it. Sophia was alone in the kitchen. She took out her blender, added protein powder, almond milk, and a banana. Normal breakfast shake ingredients. Then she went to the cabinet under the sink, the one where we kept cleaning supplies, and pulled out a bottle of drain cleaner. She unscrewed the cap, tilted the bottle over the blender, and carefully measured out what looked like half a teaspoon of thick, clear liquid. She screwed the cap back on, put the drain cleaner away, and blended the shake until it was smooth and creamy. Then she poured it into Daniel's favorite mug, the one that said "World's Best Son" that he'd given me for Father's Day when he was 8. She took the shake upstairs. Through the bedroom camera, I watched her wake Daniel up, kiss his forehead, and hand him the mug. "Drink up, baby," she said. "You need your strength." Daniel drank the whole thing. Then he laid back down, too tired to get out of bed. I saved the footage. I called Chen. "Get me a sample of that drain cleaner," he said. "And any leftover shake if you can. We need to know exactly what she's using." The next weekend, while Sophia and Daniel were out for a doctor's appointment, I went upstairs. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely work the lock on the kitchen cabinet. I found the drain cleaner bottle, 3/4 empty. The label said it contained sulfuric acid and industrial solvents. In the refrigerator, I found Daniel's half-finished shake from that morning. I poured some into a Ziploc bag, sealed it carefully, and put it in my jacket pocket. Chen sent everything to a lab. It took 4 days to get results. The shake contained thallium sulfate, rat poison, a heavy metal that accumulates in the body, causing neurological damage, organ failure, and eventually death. Impossible to detect without specifically testing for it, often mistaken for a dozen other illnesses. "This is enough to kill someone in about 6 to 8 weeks, the lab technician told Chen. "Whoever's drinking this is being slowly murdered." Chen brought me the report on a Monday afternoon. We sat in my basement apartment, and he laid out the evidence, the video footage, the lab results, the medical correlation with Daniel's symptoms. "We go to the FBI," Chen said. "This is attempted murder, possibly part of a pattern. They'll investigate, they'll arrest her, they'll save your son." "What if it's not enough?" I asked. "What if she gets a good lawyer? What if Daniel doesn't believe it?" "Then we get more. We document everything. We get her on tape admitting it." We tried. God knows we tried. Chen wired me with a recording device, and I tried to get Sophia to talk. I'd make comments about Daniel's health, about how sudden it was, about whether she'd noticed anything unusual. She'd just smile and say the doctors were baffled. Wasn't it terrible? She was doing everything she could. Meanwhile, Daniel was dying. I could see it happening day by day. He'd lost 40 pounds. His hair was falling out. His hands trembled constantly. The doctors still had no diagnosis, kept treating him for stress and vitamin deficiencies, while thallium destroyed him from the inside. On June 3rd, I sat Daniel down. Just the 2 of us, out on the dock, watching the sunset over the lake like we used to do when he was a kid. "Son, I need to show you something," I said. I pulled out my phone and played the kitchen video. Daniel watched Sophia pour poison into his shake. He watched himself drink it. The color drained from his face. "Dad, this isn't real," he said. Sophia wouldn't. "There's more." I showed him the lab results, the timeline of his illness, matching her poisoning schedule. The insurance documents showing she'd made herself the sole beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy 3 months earlier. Daniel stared at the water. He didn't cry. He just sat there, very still, processing the fact that his wife had been killing him. "What do we do?" he finally asked. "We go to the FBI. We give them everything. They arrest her. You get medical treatment. You survive this." Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. "What if we wait? What if I keep drinking the shakes for 1 more week, and we try to record her admitting it? Then there's no way she can claim it was an accident, or that we faked the evidence." "Absolutely not," I said. "You're already poisoned. Another week could kill you, but it would guarantee she goes to prison for life. Not just attempted murder. If I record her talking about what she's doing, maybe even get her to brag about it, there's no defense." "Daniel, no. I won't risk losing you." He looked at me with Emma's eyes. "Dad, she's done this before. I can feel it. That phone call you heard, the way she's so careful, how she knew exactly what poison to use. She's killed someone else. If we don't get her to confess, if we don't make the case airtight, she'll get out someday and do it again." I wanted to say no. I wanted to drag him to the FBI that night, but Daniel was right. The video could be questioned. The lab results could be explained away by a good lawyer claiming cross-contamination. We needed her voice, her admission, her own words condemning her. So I agreed. 1 week. That was it. Chen wired Daniel's phone to record all conversations. Daniel started asking Sophia questions. Gentle, confused questions about why he wasn't getting better, about the shakes, about her researching poisons online, which he'd noticed in the browser history. Sophia was too smart. She'd just redirect. Say he was paranoid from the illness. Suggest he rest more. On June 9th, Daniel collapsed at work. His co-workers called an ambulance. I got the call at 2 in the afternoon and drove 90 miles an hour to Maine Medical Center. Daniel was in the ICU, hooked up to machines, his organs shutting down. The doctors were talking about kidney failure, liver damage, neurological symptoms they couldn't explain. I pulled the attending physician aside and begged her to test for heavy metal poisoning. She said they needed a court order or police authorization for that. I said I'd get it. I called Chen, told him to contact the FBI immediately, give them everything. Sophia arrived at the hospital an hour later. She came into the ICU with tears streaming down her face, rushed to Daniel's bedside, grabbed his hand. "Baby, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I should have pushed the doctors harder. I should have known something was really wrong." Daniel opened his eyes, looked at her, and with the last bit of strength he had, he squeezed her hand and whispered, "I know what you did." Sophia's face went blank. Just for a second, the mask dropped, and I saw something cold and calculating underneath. Then she put the mask back on and said, "You're confused, baby. You need to rest." Daniel died 6 hours later. The thallium had destroyed too much. Even though the ER doctors finally ran the toxicology screen I'd begged for, even though they confirmed the poisoning and started chelation therapy, it was too late. His kidneys failed. His brain swelled. At 11:43 p.m. on June 9th, 2024, my son died while machines breathed for him, and Sophia held his hand and cried perfect tears. I held his other hand, the same way I'd held Emma's through the ICU glass. And I made Daniel a promise. She wouldn't get away with it. The funeral was on June 15th. Gray sky, light rain, 200 people who loved Daniel standing around his grave. Sophia wore black Armani and real diamonds. She gave a eulogy about what a wonderful husband Daniel had been, how they'd had plans for the future, how she'd take care of his father now, because that's what Daniel would have wanted. People hugged her, told her how strong she was, What a blessing she'd been in Daniel's life. After they lowered the casket, after most people had left for the reception at the church hall, Sophia walked over to me. We were standing there in the rain, and she squeezed my arm. "The cabin is mine now, Richard," she whispered. "You have 30 days to pack your things." I looked at her, at this woman who'd murdered my son for real estate and insurance money, and I smiled. "Thank you for everything, Sophia," I said loudly, so the few remaining people could hear. "You've been so kind to our family." I shook her hand, walked away, drove home to the cabin. Chen was waiting in my basement apartment with 2 FBI agents, Special Agent Rebecca Torres and Special Agent Marcus Webb. They'd been building the case for a week, ever since Chen had contacted them with the evidence. Daniel's death had accelerated everything. "We have the video footage," Torres said, spreading files across my kitchen table. "The lab results, Daniel's medical records showing thallium poisoning, the insurance documents. It's enough to arrest her." "Is it enough to convict her?" I asked. Torres hesitated. "A good defense attorney might argue the video is inconclusive, that the lab results were contaminated, that there's no direct proof she administered the poison with intent to kill. We'd like more." "What about her past?" I asked. Daniel thought she'd done this before. Webb nodded. "We're looking into that. We found a Matthew Sorensen, died in 2022 inches, Burlington, Vermont. He was Sophia's boyfriend. Same symptoms as your son. Sophia was the beneficiary on his life insurance, but his death was ruled natural causes. No autopsy was performed because he'd been sick for months." "Dig him up," I said. They did. 3 days after Daniel's funeral, the FBI exhumed Matthew Sorensen's body and found toxic levels of thallium in his bone marrow. They found records of Sophia buying rat poison online. They found journal entries on Matthew's laptop about feeling sick, about Sophia making him special smoothies, about how caring she was. They found the same pattern with a third man. Gregory Liu died in 2020 inches, Seattle. Another boyfriend. Another mysterious illness. Another life insurance payout. Sophia Laurent had murdered 3 men in 4 years and collected over $1 million in insurance money. On June 26th, 3 weeks after Daniel's death, FBI agents knocked on the cabin door. Sophia answered in yoga pants and a tank top. She'd been redecorating the living room, I learned later, picking out new furniture, planning her future in the home my son had left her. Agent Torres read Sophia her rights. 3 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of insurance fraud, poisoning, conspiracy. Sophia didn't cry, didn't protest. She just asked for her lawyer. They arrested her on the front porch of my cabin, the one I'd built for Emma, the one Sophia had stolen by murdering my son. The trial took 8 months. The prosecution laid out everything. The video footage of Sophia making poisoned shakes, the lab results, the financial motive, the pattern of 3 dead boyfriends and husbands, the browser history showing she'd researched untraceable poisons, the testimony from Matthew Sorensen's sister, who'd never trusted Sophia, who said her brother had changed after meeting her, became isolated, sick, dependent. Sophia's defense tried to claim she was being framed, that the evidence was circumstantial, that she'd loved Daniel and the others, that their deaths were tragic coincidences. The jury didn't buy it. They saw the video. They heard the medical testimony. They saw a pattern of predatory behavior targeting wealthy, vulnerable men. On February 23, 2025, Sophia Laurent was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without possibility of parole. She didn't react, just stood there in her orange jumpsuit and stared straight ahead. As they led her out of the courtroom, she looked at me, and I looked back. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just watched her disappear through the door, knowing she'd spend the rest of her life in a cell, the way Daniel had spent his last months dying in bed. The cabin reverted to me through Daniel's will. Sophia had been convicted of his murder, so legally she couldn't inherit anything from him. Tom Hartwell handled all the paperwork. By March, the deed was back in my name. I thought about selling it then. Every room held memories of Daniel, but also memories of watching him waste away while I tried desperately to save him. The kitchen where Sophia had mixed poison, the bedroom where he died slowly, The dock where he'd made me promise to stop her. In the end, I couldn't sell it. Because it also held memories of Emma, of Daniel as a little boy, learning to fish, of 30 years of happiness before everything went wrong. Instead, I turned it into something good. The Daniel Morrison Memorial Scholarship Fund. For students studying computer science, particularly those who've lost parents to violence. I funded it with the life insurance money Daniel had left me, the same money Sophia had tried to steal. Every year, 5 students get full rides to college in my son's name. I meet them each summer here at the cabin. We have dinner on the porch. They tell me about their studies, their dreams, their futures. It doesn't bring Daniel back. It doesn't erase the fact that I signed over the cabin and put him in Sophia's crosshairs. It doesn't change the fact that I heard her on the phone planning his death and I still waited too long to act. But it helps. Some days, it helps. I'm 71 now. I still live in the cabin. I still watch the sunrise over Sebago Lake every morning, the way Emma wanted. I still have Daniel's photo on the mantle, next to hers. People ask me sometimes if I regret not going to the FBI sooner, if I blame myself for Daniel's death. The answer is yes. Every single day. I replay every decision, every moment. I could have acted faster, been smarter, protected him better. But I also know this. If we hadn't built the case the way we did, if we hadn't documented everything, if Daniel hadn't sacrificed those last days to help gather evidence, Sophia might have gotten away with it. She might have walked free and done it again to someone else's son. Daniel knew that. It's why he agreed to wait, to risk his life for the evidence, because he understood what his mother always taught him. Sometimes protecting others means sacrificing yourself. The day before he died, when he was barely conscious, Daniel squeezed my hand and whispered something. "Dad, make sure she doesn't hurt anyone else." I kept that promise. Sophia Laurent will never hurt anyone again. And every morning when I drink my coffee on the porch and watch the sun come up over the water, I tell Emma and Daniel about the students I'm helping in Daniel's name. I tell them about the letters I get from parents thanking me for giving their kids a chance at college. I tell them about the lives being changed by Daniel's legacy. It doesn't erase the grief. Nothing can. But it transforms it into something that matters. Something that lasts. Something that would make Emma proud and Daniel smile. That's all any parent can hope for in the end. That their child's life meant something. That their death wasn't for nothing. That love, even when it's twisted and used as a weapon against us, doesn't win. Justice wins. Truth wins. And the people we love, even when they're gone, keep living through the good we do in their name. I choose to remember Daniel that way, not wasting away in a hospital bed, but standing on the dock at sunset, talking about the future, brave enough to risk everything to protect strangers he'd never meet. That was my son. That was Emma's son. And that's the legacy Sophia Laurent tried to steal but never could. Because you can poison someone's body. You can take their money and their home. You can steal years they should have lived. But you can't kill what someone stood for. You can't murder their impact on the world. And you can't escape justice forever. Sophia learned that the hard way. And if my story helps one person recognize the warning signs, trust their instincts, protect someone they love before it's too late, then Daniel's sacrifice means even more. Trust your gut. Document everything. Don't wait for perfect proof when someone you love is in danger. And remember, love doesn't mean blind trust. Real love means protecting people, even when it's hard, even when they don't believe you, even when it costs you everything. I learned that too late to save my son. But maybe you won't have to.